Good evening. Time now for the news summary at 22 hours. We look at the headlines. All students in examination classes will reopen on Monday, 14th September, while those in non-examination classes will report to school on the 21st of September. 6 cases of brought-in dead reported in the last 24 hours. The Olympic Youth Development Center, OYDC, is scheduled to open up various non-contact sporting activities on Monday, 14th September. With the details, my name is Luizia Nalupombwe. All pupils and students in examination classes will reopen on Monday, 14th September, while those in non-examination classes will report to school on the 21st of September. Dennis Wanchinga, the General Education Minister, has further announced that all universities and colleges affiliated to TVETA will resume classes on the 28th of September. Dr. Wanchinga made the announcement at a press briefing in Lusaka today.
I would like, ladies and gentlemen, to urge all authorities in our institutions of learning to work with health authorities, parents, and the community at large to ensure that there is strict adherence to the guidelines provided by both the Ministry of Health and the 2 ministries in charge of education in this country. I would also like to encourage our parents to adequately prepare their children by providing them with face masks.
And Catherine Muliata Elusaka Taylor is elated that schools have been reopened. Mrs. Muliata says her tailoring business has been greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but she is hopeful that it will get back on track following the reopening of schools. There are 143 cases of COVID-19 recorded in the last 24 hours out of 1,390 tests conducted, and 6 cases of brought-in death have been reported in the last 24 hours, while 108 patients have been discharged. Shtalu Chilufya, the health minister, says 48 patients are admitted in various health facilities with 10 on oxygen support. Dr. Chilufya says Zambians must maintain strict adherence to COVID-19 health guidelines as the economy opens up. He said the reopening of schools and bars means the country needs to ensure that public health guidelines are observed to avoid escalation of cases. Loyola News has been told that production and manufacturing industries have not taken full advantage of the 10 billion Kwacha Bank of Zambia stimulus package. Kelvin Chisanga, a social economist and entrepreneur, made these revelations in Lusaka. Mr. Chisanga says the stimulus package was primarily set up to cushion the aggressive economic impact caused mainly by the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. He says the growth of any nation is reliant on how much it is able to produce, hence the need for manufacturing companies to take full advantage of the package.
Bank of Zambia stimulus package is being seen to be on a low economic uptake. This 10 billion stimulus package was set up to primarily help cushion the aggressive economic impact caused by COVID-19. The uptake of this, of course, it's showing a worrying state because the band of loan off-takers of this facility has been seen to be a huge power of the individual and the household, while industry and production remains low, as tourism getting second position from the list, followed by the wholesale and retail trade, real estate, while those that are enshrined as priority focus sectors such as agriculture, energy, mining, and all sort of things, as documented in the national, in the 7th National Development Plan, are badly financed. It's glad also to see that the banking side has taken up a good shape but it is worrying that they are not dispensing, these finances. It is also worrying that we have seen some big 5 banks with good operation tentacles that cutters across the entire nation, such as Zanaco, FNB, Standard Chartered Bank, also are not included as a facility aggregators. So it is one thing that we should always have to look at and see how best we can help, because we believe that this stimulus package was there formulated to actually help the economy.
The Zambia Red Cross Society says communities and households must equip themselves with first aid kits, especially in these times of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is because first aid is an essential step in providing effective and swift action that helps to reduce serious conditions and injuries. Evans Chisenga Lumbwe, the National Training Chairperson for the Red Cross Society, says first aid kits are an essential pillar in building safer and more resilient communities. Mr. Chisenga Lumbwe made these remarks during the World First Aid Day commemorations in Lusaka.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thousands of people have died due to COVID-19, with Zambia's death toll standing at 296 as of 9th September 2020. Infection rates also continue to rise, hence we are all affected. In this regard, first aid is a vital step in providing effective and swift action that helps reduce serious conditions and injuries, hence improving chances of survival and recovery. First aid is an essential component not only to the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, who apply it mainly in times of disaster, whether natural or man-made, but it is also essential to individuals at the community level. We believe first aid is an essential pillar in building safer, more resilient community, which in turn are best placed to decrease the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and reduce exposure to health hazards.
This year's celebrations were commemorated under the theme Adapting First Aid Practices to the Pandemic. Zambia may be in no mood to tolerate much more currency losing value, but the hard-hit kwacha depreciation will be hard-pressed to prevent. The rapid depreciation of the kwacha has crushed the cost of doing business and subsequently impacted the standard of living. Small-scale farmers fear both the nose-diving kwacha coupled with effects of the COVID-19 pandemic will have devastating effects on their businesses. We have details in the following report.
As the kwacha depreciates, there has been concerns among local businesses about the effects this may cause on the cost of doing business. For small-scale farmers, they are fearful that the depreciation of the kwacha may further affect the cost of doing business, especially that the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic are already showing gloomy results. There are calls to hike prices of livestock such as chickens. Peter Kabamba is a small-scale farmer who is into chicken rearing.
Hiking of the prices as a business owner, as one who owns a business, it will be a welcome idea, but we must strike a balance, because the COVID and the challenges that everybody is facing right now, it's not meant for us only. Neither is it meant for any category of people, but everybody is suffering it. So as they are hiking the price, I would love them to look at it, because the consumer suffers the most. So let's look at the consumer and let's look at us business owners and come at a point where we can both agree and say this is going to be favorable for all of us.
The agriculture sector has not been spared by the economic challenges the country is facing.
One thing that we've got to realize is that for any business to be sustainable, it's got to make a profit. Now, if people find themselves in a situation whereby they are hardly, surviving, they are making a very, very small margin out of their sales, you'll find that it becomes very, very difficult to sustain their businesses. So the only way that they can survive is to increase the prices so that equally the profit margins can go up slightly.
In his presidential address to Parliament, President Edgar Lungu emphasized the need for an economic turnaround. Mr. Lungu feels that the agriculture sector needs to be used as an economic engine for development. Mokasibuku, Loyola News.
At least 50 people are thought to have died when an artisanal gold mine collapsed near Kamituga in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Emilian Itongwa, president of the Initiative of Support and Social Supervision of Women, said the cave-in occurred on the Detroit mine site at around 3 p.m. local. Itongwa said several miners were in the shaft, which was covered, and no one could get out, among them about 50 young people. Photos and videos on social media showed hundreds of people, some of whom could be heard wailing on a hillside around the mine shaft entrance. Mining accidents are common in unregulated artisanal mines in Congo. There are dozens of deaths every year in mines where often ill-equipped diggers burrow deep underground in search for ore. A landslide at a disused gold mine killed 16 in October last year, while 43 illegal miners died in another landslide at a copper and cobalt mine in June 2019. Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara's government has reached out to his main opponents and religious leaders to intervene and ease tensions following his decision to bid for a third term in next month's election. Ouattara made his appeal to religious leaders during a tour of the east of the country on Friday. A source in Ouattara's office told Reuters that informal discussions have been held with political leaders. The world's top cocoa-producing nation has seen a spate of violent protest with at least 10 killed and over 100 wounded in clashes between protesters and police since Ouattara announced his bid in August. The election is seen as the greatest test yet for stability since a brief civil war killed about 3,000 people following a disputed election in 2010 won by Ouattara. Ouattara plans to run in the October 31st election after the sudden death of his hand-picked successor, Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly, in July. His opponents say the constitution forbids him because he has already had 2 terms. The Ivory Coast Constitutional Council is set to rule on his eligibility and those of other candidates next week. In sports news, the Olympic Youth Development Center, OYDC, is scheduled to open up various non-contact sporting activities on Monday, 14th September. The move to open up follows a clearance for a go-ahead to start all sport and non-sporting activities by the local authorities. Activities at the center were suspended on 17th March due to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. Frederick Chitangala, the Chief Executive Officer at OYDC, says all participants must wear face masks and will have to hand sanitize at intervals. Chitangala disclosed this to Loyola News today.
We have just resumed our sports activities, all sports activities except swimming and full contact sport. Those will hold on for now. But the Toolings Youth Sports Challenge is on. We already have our first games on Tuesday last week, and we are going to have our first games this week, and we'll continue having games every week until we recover the time we have lost, so that we can still have our grand finale for the Toolings Youth Sports Challenge by December this year. I'm also happy to announce that we have resumed for non-sports activities. We can now host events, we can host non-sports activities like meetings, workshops, and anything in trainings. And the lodge is open and the gym is also running. All these have got different permits. There's a permit for the gym, a permit for non-sport activities. There's also a permit for sports activities. So when you enter YDC, I hope this happened to you when you entered. You're supposed to check your temperature, take down that temperature, also ask you to wash your hands or sanitize if you can prove you have a sanitizer, And also for the athletes, at each sports facility or court, there will be a hand washing facility with soap so that they can have access to clean water if needed.
That sporting item wraps up the news summary at 22 hours. But before we go, a recap of the headlines once again. All pupils and students in examination classes will reopen on Monday, 14th September, while those in non-examination classes will report to school on the 21st of September. Dennis Wanchinga, the General Education Minister, has further announced that all universities and colleges affiliated to TVETA will resume classes on the 28th of September. There are 143 cases of COVID-19 recorded in the last 24 hours out of 1,390 tests conducted, and 6 cases of brought-in dead have been reported in the last 24 hours, while 108 patients have been discharged. Chitalu Chilufya, the health minister, says 48 patients are admitted in various health facilities with 10 on oxygen support. The Olympic Youth Development Center, OYDC, is scheduled to open up various non-contact sporting activities on Monday, 14th September. The move to open up follows a clearance for a go-ahead to start all sport and non-sporting activities by the local authorities. Activities at the center were suspended on 17th March due to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire production and news crew, my name is Luizia Nalupumbwe. Good night.